Hello, this is Derek from Future Vision and Growth Norman, and I want to have an kind of an open conversation about our amazing city to the south. We're going to talk about Noble a little bit. When I'm looking at Noble, Oklahoma, I look at Noble as kind of what it's gone through in its existence, and the fact that it was a small town and it was relatively a distance from Norman. When Norman used to end at Porter, and that was it. I mean, you go to Noble. Noble was a small town south. You might go visit there. It was quiet, and um, as Norman has grown, Noble has grown, and Noble is growing very, very quickly right now as well. So we are in a unique position. We have a lot of growth happening in the Noble area. They have a beautiful high school. Their high school is absolutely state of the art. Um, so they have a beautiful high school. They have projects that are growing. They've got housing that's going in. So Noble is growing fast. I would argue we'll see. I don't know what Noblites. Honestly, if you're from Noble, what do you think about how fast Noble's growing? Are you excited about it? Are you nervous about it? What is your feeling on the growth in Noble? Because everything points, all the indicators point to the fact that Noble is going to grow faster and faster. And we are part of that. Like, that is part of our reasoning. We are ultimately the fastest growing city in our region right now, other than Oklahoma City. So in our area, meaning our little MSA, we are the fastest growing, meaning we're faster growing than Noble, faster growing than Moore, faster growing than Little Axe. So our area, we are an economic engine of our area. So when we do well, other cities around us also are doing well. So what does that look like? And what do we need to do? And kind of like, what kind of relationships are we looking at? Well, first of all, we have to respect the fact that Noble does amazing things. I love the Rose Rock Festival. I love the way they handle the holidays. So they do Christmas, and they do Christmas. They have the water tower lighting every year. They have carolers. They do Christmas in a way that we don't do Christmas, to be honest with you, in Norman. So there's some interesting things I'm thinking in my head that could be really neat for our region or our area going south. And we might get connected with other cities that could be really, really fun for the holidays, which I will not announce until next week. Like, my goal is to do that video next week, getting ready for Christmas in July, and kind of like what that looks like. Because I believe that everybody needs to plan for Christmas starting in July, and actually before that most times. But we need to really get focused about 6 months ahead of time, which is technically about what, 3 months at a time. Because by the time July's the 7th, by the 10th month, October, we're all in. So you have to think about like what that looks like. And I have an awesome idea that I think enhances each city, but also creates a value for every city. And it can do some neat kind of collaborations as we're growing and building relationships and the things that we need to do. So our networking, we are networking within Norman. We're talking about being an SEC city. We're growing on all sides. We're growing all over the place. And yet we still have to have those reach out hand moments and say, we've done it to Moore. Why? Because we've looked at Moore and said, we're going to have an overflow. We may not be able to handle it. Can you handle it? That's fantastic. Okay, great. We have that relationship with Moore, Oklahoma. Now, what is our relationship with Noble? How are we, bringing in the Noble Chamber of Commerce? How are we bringing in the Noble leaders? Because our cities are going to connect. Like, that is going to happen. Just looking at the sheer way that we are growing, the way that we are building our roadways, and the way that the state is building the roadways, it's about to be very different. So last week I had the opportunity to go south of Noble a little bit, and I went about 5, 6, 7 miles south of Noble and came back. And I was like, I want to see what it looks like, because I knew they had the new 4-lane stretch coming out of Purcell, and then it came up to the south of Noble a little bit. What I did not realize was that ultimately they are 4-laning all the way into Noble. So from about Canadian River Winery north of there, about a mile on 77, the road used to narrow. Now, ultimately, it's a 1-lane road because they're doing construction. They're creating a 4-lane highway all the way from there into Noble, Oklahoma, ultimately to go through Noble and end up connected with a 4-lane highway into Norman. So what that will do is create essentially a 4-lane highway all the way from Purcell up to Norman, and that will go even further south. So we will see a 4-lane running north and south as a pipeline of people coming into the city from the south. So that means Noble is going to be a gateway to the Norman area, to the Norman metropolitan area, but also we will see growth on that south side. We are already, if you haven't been out to look at the housing in South Noble, you will be shocked because there's a lot being built and it will continue to be built. Sorry, my house is being worked on. And so there's a lot that's happening. So we will have an opportunity to be able to really get things done and help create a vision for our region. So with everything that's happening in Noble, they're going to get new businesses. They're going to transform the city some. They're going to grow, and they're going to have more tax base. So they're going to continue to have to invest in infrastructure. Likewise, they're going to grow fast because we're growing fast. So some people will leave Norman and move to a more rural area, which will be Noble. I will argue that Noble's not going to be rural very long. So be aware of that when you're moving to Noble, in that if you're going down there, it is a small town that will not be small. It will end up growing because we're going to grow. When we grow, they're going to grow, and ultimately everybody grows. And so the idea of being small doesn't necessarily hold any more than Norman being small. And so that's kind of like where we are at as far as Noble's concerned. I like Noble a lot. I like the city. I like the way it's laid out. I like the way they handle things. They have a very small town like feel to them. They're very kind. They have great restaurants in Noble. I go there for my kids like almost every week in summertime. So I have an affinity for Noble. I like their Chamber of Commerce. I like what they're doing. I like their visitors groups that they're doing. I do believe that the downtown on the Kendall side is going to need some work. Ultimately, I don't know if it's a storefront issue. I don't know if it's the fact that they're going to have to widen that whole downtown because it's only 2 lanes and everything else is going to be 4-lane. So what does that look like? I mean, I don't know. But they're going to have to figure something out because others are going to funnel all these cars into just a little 2-lane road through the city, then back out again. It's a weird, like a mile and a half, maybe not even a mile of a 2-lane road that's going to be all 4-lane. So those are conversations that are going to have to be had, and what that's going to look like, what parking is going to look like. They're going to deal with some of the same issues that Norman does, where they may have to move parking off of the roadway and put it somewhere else. And so then what does that look like? So if you're Noble, Oklahoma, what does your downtown look like? Because again, you're a gateway too. You can capture some of that coming in from the south. The first thing they're going to see coming to the Norman area is Noble. So how do you welcome people? What are you welcoming people? How are you welcoming people? The new barbecue place is going to be fantastic. That's going to be amazing. We have a lot of shops. You got Spurs and Lace. I like that. You've got a lot of shops downtown. Of course, you have Kendall's and Tiffany's. So we're looking at things like that are the Mirador. I mean, there's places that are really going to appeal to people when they first come into town. So as they are growing, and they're going to be having these conversations, I promise you, having future conversations. What does that look like? How do we embrace who we are? And I mean, they'll be doing the same thing that Norman's doing in their community. And I think that's going to be really important, because if you don't get ahead of it, then you get defined by somebody else. And I want Noble to define Noble. I want Noble to be able to determine who they are as they grow, because they are going to grow like Norman's going to grow. Again, I'm just telling you right now, grow, because that is going to be our mindset right now, is we are going to grow. So with that in mind, we need to always be building partnerships. Is our chamber, Norman Chamber, working with Noble Chamber? Are our business leaders working with Noble business leaders? Is there a good relationship between the two cities? Is it a collaborative relationship, or is it an adversarial relationship? I don't know. It seems that we seem to work together some, but I don't see that collaboration outwardly. And maybe that's just the fact that people don't talk about it. I don't know. But we need to work on the idea of how are we expressing appreciation for one another, but also working on the identity of our region, the identity of what that's going to look like, how Noble can help Norman, how Norman can help Noble, and kind of those win-win-wins, which I love. We have, of course, housing going out east and being built up, and we have housing going southeast being built up, and so ultimately roadways are going to connect, and so we're going to go back and forth, and we have a retail corridor on 77 that will just get more and more full. So as people are coming in from Noble to Norman, they will hit a retail corridor the second they hit the Norman limits. That is important for us as far as economic development and business is concerned. We want that to be able to happen, but also on the wider, how do we maintain some of, again, that rural character that we're hearing a lot about in the East Norman. We want to make sure that we are keeping that rural character in the Noble area. Rural in name, kind of. It's not straight up farmland, because I wish, and this is an argument that's being had right now in Norman, which is they are really concerned about sprawl. They're concerned about how much land we're using in developing. I get that. I said, but Norman has a rule that 5 stories is about as high as we'll go. I mean, it would be a skyscraper in the middle of Norman would be shocking to people. So if we are not willing to go up, then we have to go out. And so I think those are the things that we are having to have a conversation about, is what does the future of Norman look like? Because Norman's going to grow. Again, that means Noble grows. So then Noble, you have capacity in your high school. Your high school has room. It's fantastic. We've got assets. Your streets are really good right now. You've got an adorable downtown. You guys work really hard on it. You're developing it. The Rose Rock, and I said, you can't. I mean, ultimately, you can get yourself into a bit of a pickle because of Broken Arrow. But you have a Rose Rock festival every year. There's a way that maybe that Rose Rock theme or can go through the city, and like you'll be able to know whether it's a mural of a Rose Rock or something on a building in Noble. Why? Because then people can stop and you can have Noble come with a Rose Rock picture, take pictures with that, and that is a fantastic idea. You can ultimately say you're the gateway to the South. I mean, you're the gate. You're 2 gateways. Your gateway to Norman going north. Your gateway to essentially a winding, beautiful road going into Purcell and Slaughterville. And Slaughterville is also not that far away. So as I'm talking Noble, my thought forward is also not only Noble, but Slaughterville, because Slaughterville already has a 4-lane road through it. And so we are looking at the idea that that's going to grow as well. So we have all these cities kind of coming together, and we're going to create a big city, and the big city then is going to attach to the larger city. And so you will see kind of like what happens. And if you think Dallas is an extreme, but there is similar kind of tendencies, which is the suburbs grow. And as the suburbs grow, they have to identify themselves and what they're going to look like and how they're going to handle their growth and how you're going to capture people and bring them in. So placemaking is big. One of the best parks is in Noble. If you go down on 77, and you're going south on 77, it's on the right side. It's right by the Noble sign. You walk back there, it's in the trees. It has a pavilion there. And then there is an old rock railroad bridge. You can walk underneath it. It is stunning. It's a nice walk. It's cool under there, at least 10 to 15 degrees. And it's just a pretty, pretty little park. So if you haven't been down there, we've done photo shoots down there, and the pictures are beautiful. So it is a neat, neat little park. And then there's businesses along 77. 77 is a corridor going south. And so we're seeing that. And it's a fun road. I think it's a road that we can enhance and really promote as a winding, wonderful trip to take. Because you got that, you got the snow cone stand, you've got the barbecue place. You go down south about another 3 miles, you've got a winery on the right. So you have all these things that are happening that are really interesting. And you got the Bug Spider, the VW Spider. If you don't know what that is, you've got to drive south on 77, south of Noble, about 3-4 miles on the right. It is fantastic. It is, they put a VW Bug up in the air and made like spider legs, and it's a picture. You definitely need to have that picture. And I've always thought they need to have like a turnaround around there or a little park area for you to park your car and take photos, because it is just neat. It's a neat space, and it's fun, and we love taking that trip. And again, the holidays are important to us, and we do a lot of amazing things. So I'm going to save that because I don't want to give away too much right now. So ultimately, to me, I look at Noble as a great asset. I know Noble's an amazing city, and it can be very, very beneficial in our relationship to each other and also in our growth projections. So as Noble's growing, which it is, again, there's housing going in all over the place, everywhere. We will also be able to build relationship with them. So what can we do? How can we work? How can we partner? And how can we create a great environment for everyone that's moving into our area? Thank you for watching. I cannot wait to see you soon. I will let you know that this content is going to be for subscribers only, I believe. So you may be able to see it, but maybe you won't be able to comment on it unless you're, nope, that's not true. This is actually going to be for subscribers only. So you will be able to see it, but you have to dig for it. But it will give, if you are a subscriber, it will alert you to content like this. I will still do shorts and send them out publicly to everyone so they know that I'm out there and we're doing things. But there's going to be longer content that I want to give to people that are really looking at this as a possibility to grow and have an open conversation. And what we're looking at as far as my perspective on things, I think that's valuable. And so I want to make sure that that goes to my subscribers that are willing to hit the like button and subscribe. So I hope that you're a subscriber. That's fantastic. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's watch what's happening. We're going to grow and grow and grow and grow. And you get to be a part of that. And I can't wait to see you soon.